This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. We've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
All right, here we go. It's Nick. It's Eric. Of course, this is Lemon's Car Spotting. It's where we look at your pictures of terrible cars on Instagram, tag them with Lemon's Car Spotting, and we will find them. We pick 2 awards each week, the hooptiest and the Lemons build, and how we select those, I will let Eric describe.
This is our patented selection method, wherein my left hand represents the car we would most want to see in Lemons, or who gets to pick it at least, and my right hand represents the car that we think is hooptiest out of this batch of 10. And Nick will now close his eyes and tell me when to stop, and when I have one of these hands up, it will indicate which one he is going to pick, and you may go now.
Stop.
As my left hand, you will be picking the Lemons build out of these.
Excellent. Here we go.
Let's do it.
All righty. We are starting off with cars on blocks, baby. Let's see. Well, where are we? Oh, Salty Thunder Racing. Well-known Fiero racers there in the sort of Colorado/Utah region. We got ourselves a Toyota Matrix and a Chevy Silverado.
Silverado, man. Yeah, there it is. Double in progress on the street.
You know, I was told once by somebody who seemed like they might have some experience with this subject is that people who are addicted to meth tend to sell things that they have convinced themselves that they will just buy back later, you know, like, oh, you know, it's sort of like their own personal pawn shop scheme where it's like, you know, I just need $20 right now, and I feel like I could sell the left front wheel off of my girlfriend's Toyota Matrix, and then I'll have $20 by the end of the week, and then I'll just buy the wheel back at that point. I think that's
right. Yeah. So what you're talking about is 2 weeks in here.
Yeah. And instead of rebuying the Matrix wheel, they've now parted out his dad's Chevy Silverado.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that is they've used their 2 jack stands up? Like they have 2 of them, and there's one on a corner.
Yeah. So in week 3, when they need to sell yet another wheel, they're going to have to get even more creative. All right, moving on.
Man.
Oh, boy. I honestly thought it was a Cobalt in the thumbnail, but oh no, it's a Saturn Ion.
You know, I got to say, this is at a Lemons race, by the way. I think this is Sebring, maybe? I'm not sure. Maybe it's, I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
I like the facial expression of the driver as if, you know, she is more confused than anybody why somebody is taking a picture of her gold Saturn Ion. So, all right, there you go. Fine Lemons, by the way, Saturn Ion.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Not sure what that was. Oh, Datsun 200SX.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Wow, when's the last time you saw one of those on the road?
You know what? I saw one in a Lemons race. The garbage raced in the South, won Class C at Sebring with a 200SX.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is from Mike Slap Attack in Rockwood, Ontario. It looks like the 200SX is one of many well-preserved-ish cars in a yard somewhere. But yeah, there you go. You know, Datsun was making some decent cars for that sort of peak malaise era where nobody was making really good cars.
Right.
But one thing that they did not do well, I actually think, you know, mechanically they did okay. They did not do the federal bumpers very well over there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're kind of horrifying to look at, actually.
Yeah.
Were the federalized bumpers part of... Canada must have had them, because this car is in Canada.
That's a good point. I guess they must have. Well, there you go. If you can find JDM bumpers for a 200SX, suddenly this would become a cool car. maybe.
What does that even look like? Yeah, I don't know what
I
the
have no
S12
idea.
looks like.
Well, first of all, it's not called the 200SX. It's called
Right.
the Remington GT or something weird. So yeah, tell us in the comments what the JDM 200SX is A, called, and B, whether it's cool or not.
That's got to be an early Sylvia.
Oh yeah, you're
would
probably
think.
right. Actually, that does ring a bell. That could be the Sylvia. Well, good knowledge. Here we go.
Good guessing, at least.
Oh God, we haven't left the yard.
Oof.
What the heck? It says, okay, so I'm cheating and reading the caption. It says that it's a Chrysler RBody, which I have literally never heard of.
How have you never heard of that? Aren't you a car guy, Nick?
Well, unlike you, I'm not from Illinois, so how am I supposed to know?
Well, it's so weird to hear people talk about Chrysler chassis codes as though it's common knowledge. Like that's a super Chrysler coot kind of thing.
Yeah,
the R-Body, I think, was like the Fifth Avenue, like the end of the rear wheel drive stuff, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I totally agree that Mopar people talk about Mopar stuff as if anybody knows or cares. But as somewhat of a car nerd, I will say, heard of a B body, heard of a C body, have not heard of an R body.
Yeah, well, Chrysler hit the downsizing era, and it just turned into this weird, fractured, we are totally hella butt ass broke. And because you had the downsized Cordoba, you had this. I think they're all R bodies, but I don't know if I'm just making a shortcut for myself based on having to talk out my ass on this video.
That sounds like it's a good explanation to me. The good news for Chrysler is after this particular low point, they went on to make great cars, such as the Chrysler Concorde that's parked behind it in the same junkyard.
So good.
There you go. Cab forward. Oh, it's a rendezvous. Well, all right. So here's my thing. There has been much discussed in Lemons and in the general world of cars about the Pontiac Aztec for good reason. I have always maintained that the Aztec, yes, it was horrible. Yes, it was weird. Now there's a current movement to talk about how underrated it was, which maybe it was underrated. That doesn't make it not horrible.
Right.
I will say, and I thought at the time that the Rendezvous was worse because at least the Aztec committed to what it was doing. What it was doing was dumb and ugly and bad. But the Rendezvous was like, oh, yeah, no, we're just like a Honda CRV and, buy me like a normal car. There wasn't any of that extra adventure camping stuff. And the result was just equally horrible. I mean, look at the giant orange eyelashes, the horrible oval grill, the part where they forgot how to draw once they got past the seafloor. I mean, it's just awful in every way.
It's funny that I've never really looked at one until now to notice how the grill spills over onto the hood in the worst possible way. And I have always noticed that the C-pillar has the same angle that the Aztec does, but they also just slapped another 10% of roof on it. And that is, as you say, that is not committing to the horribleness of it. That is hedging with a partial Trailblazer roof with Aztec styling. You're really getting the worst of all three worlds there with Buick design language. So they also have the plastic all down the side.
The cladding, the famous cladding. And let me just say, I mean, this car is got to be close to 20 years old at this point. And I swear, how long has General Motors, but Buick in particular, how long has their ad campaign been based on the idea of you, the general public, think that a Buick is horrible, but we swear that it's not. It is. Regardless of whether that's true or not, I feel like that as your starting point is maybe not the best marketing plan. Like, you think we're horrible. We're going to convince you otherwise.
We're not horrible. We're just mediocre.
Well, that could be true now, but good Lord, back then, that is definitely horrible.
And I'm not done yet. I got one more point on this, which is this is the classic American car builder with a let's name the car after a foreign word that has been adopted because it sounds sophisticated, and rendezvous is absolutely the worst possible outcome of that.
Rendezvous is like the word you would use for an illicit meeting with your married neighbor. You know, like, oh, is Sheila down the street? Well, yeah, we did have a rendezvous the other night, if I'm being honest. No, I totally agree. Well,
which by the way, if you're going to bring a Buick Rendezvous to Lemons, as you should do a theme like Rendezvous, the famous driving through Paris in a Ferrari film.
That's right. 70s. Yeah. The famous, the world's first GoPro that everybody tells you to watch on the internet. The allegedly the Ferrari, but then supposedly the camera car was really a Mercedes. Whatever, all of that dumb car coot stuff, talking about that 5-minute video. You could definitely do the same thing, except instead of France in the early morning hours in allegedly a Ferrari, it should be like driving through a lemons paddock in a rendezvous.
I was going to say Youngstown, Ohio, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, next time we race at Ginger Man, you can film the video in Youngstown first and then drive over.
There you go.
That's the only place you're going to find a rendezvous anywhere. Michigan.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Oh, look at. Oh, dude. Oh, man, check this out. No, that's a Civic. That is a Civic Wagon. And somebody has affixed the super sweet black over fenders and the smooth dished oversized wheels, and he's got the sporty, looks like it's broken, but no, I did that intentionally, spacing on the hood. It's got the fender mirrors for the JDM style. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's legit, actually. I'm into that.
Yeah, that's nice.
And again, this goes back to my inability to identify it comes back to the fact that there were no Honda Civics of this age or in my hometown or anywhere near it.
This is from Valley Mead. No location is given, but yeah, I think it's safe to say that that's not in the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty cool. And since we mentioned Datsun making relatively good cars during the Malaise era, I would put Honda in that category as well. This is probably like, what, a 79 through 81, something like that wagon, and still survives today.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. All right. Moving on. What the? It's the Ruger.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's a Grand Theft Auto San Andreas thing, right?
That is, yeah, that's certainly possible. Yeah, the thing that looks like a Firebird, but they didn't pay for the licensing, and so they called it the Ruiner. And then part somebody actually did it. Oh, that's totally sweet. This is from Corey, either Corey Strite or Corey S. Trite or Corey's. Anyway, he's in Oak Grove, Oregon. That is, of course, a third-gen bird of some sort.
Bird is the word.
And it's the Ruiner.
I mean, you want to talk about a video game series that is absolutely ripe for the thematic plucking. Grand Theft Auto, 100%.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I've mentioned it on this channel before. During COVID, I discovered there's a mobile version of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, my favorite video game of all time. And I did 2 complete playthroughs, including one 100% playthrough. And yeah, still the greatest game ever. 2 themes from GTA. All right. Moving on from the Ruiner. Oh, is it an Equator? It is. No.
Yeah. Man, this is a truck that you see one every once in a while. You see this in the Mitsubishi Raider, which I think might be the same thing. I'm not actually sure.
And don't forget the Ombre.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. But every once in a while, I'll see one of these, and Amanda, my fiance, will be with me, and I'll get really excited about it. That is, I don't get it. I don't understand. And I mentioned this in a previous previously filmed episode with Jay that Suzuki is the epitome of beating the system by buying a vehicle.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. If you are one of those people that, oh no, I can't be put into the Toyota box.
Yeah.
I'm quirky and unusual. I'm gonna go out and get an Equator. So yeah, this is what, a Nissan Frontier that was somehow badged engineered into a Suzuki. Why? I'd love to know the business case for all of that too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what is possibly in it? I understand what's in it for Suzuki because they don't actually, have the ability to make a vehicle. But what's in it for Nissan? I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, somebody at Suzuki America, one of the 5 people was like, what's really holding us back is we don't have a pickup truck.
That's what Americans like.
Yeah. It's not that we totally lack a dealer network or the ability to import cars or quality or any of the things that people actually want. It's just that we don't have a pickup truck.
Yeah, that was it. Somehow that also didn't save them.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Suzuki Equator.
How fitting.
Yeah, this could have been a Suzuki Equator. This is a Nissan RBody. He's there to either interview for or interview a candidate for the esteemed position at the Top Notch company.
Yeah. Top Notch Way.
Yeah, it works either way. Like either this guy who drives this, moderately totaled Nissan RBody, if he is the proprietor of Top Notch, and it's like, well, what's the name of your company, sir, with the wrecked truck? Like, well, my company's called Top Notch. Okay, well, I'm going to shop around a little bit. Or somebody interviewing for the job and shows up like, yes, I'm top-notch material, as you can tell from my RBody.
Depending on the service, and I see that they have a sign on the side of the bed also advertising their business, so I assume this is the Top Notch Way Incorporated founder and owner and user of their service, one would imagine.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're selling, somebody driving around with a Nissan RBody that has obviously hit something at more than 20 miles an hour, you're either really into what they're doing and you think they could make anything work, or they're going to be a little reckless, and you probably don't want to hire the electrician to do the wiring in your house if they're showing up in one of these.
It does call into question of what lot sweeping is. I mean, if it's, clearing a lot of unwanted people, maybe this is a good sort of calling card. Like, well, I was doing it freelance and now I want to, sign up for the corporate life. But I can lot sweep. I've done it in my Nissan.
One thing I've never noticed on one of these is that the extended cab window extends into the roof.
It does. Get a slight light effect. All right, last one for this week. Oh, good God, it's Armin Bengal. Now, friend of Lemons and occasional Lemons employee, Armin Bengal is a Roots Group enthusiast and owner. He's got a Sunbeam Alpine with the fins. This appears to be actually a Tiger, which of course is an Alpine with a Ford small block V8.
Neither here nor there, but I'm seeing a blank screen, which perhaps people are seeing. I'm not really sure. But
that's very interesting. If you're seeing a blank screen, it is a white Sunbeam Tiger with brake dust, sort of 8-spoke mini light inspired wheels, a black soft top, and off in the background looks like a Buick Encore. So that paints the picture, hopefully, for those of you who can't see anything.
Maybe we just need to start a separate show that is Nick describes pictures of cars.
Yeah. It'll be for people with slow internet connections and or visual impairment.
Yeah, maybe it's just the Lemons podcast is Nick describes.
Yeah, right. Well, if you can't see it, I don't know what to tell you. All right, let's get into it. We've got 10 cars in the books. Eric, you go first with the hooptiest.
It'd be really easy to look at the 200SX or the Fifth Avenue at a junkyard and say, man, that's the hooptiest. But I kind of think that a running and driving Buick Rendezvous is maybe actually the hooptiest thing out of this whole group.
Certainly possible. And give me 2 seconds to queue up the thing that I meant to queue up before, and I didn't. Go ahead and vamp for a second while I try to find this.
It's cool. It's cool. Everything's fine. There's nothing to see here. Well, with the Rendezvous, which, by the way, the Ruiner is also in the running there. But yeah, I mean, somebody who's still driving this car. This is the classic Buick thing that we've talked about before, where nobody in their right mind is paying money for this car. Everybody's just ended up with it, and you could always have that conversation with, how did you end up with your Buick Rendezvous?
Yeah, we mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, I think. There's a great thread on Reddit about how did you get your PT Cruiser? And, the answer is never, I wanted a PT Cruiser and I went out and bought one. Man, there was a lot of death and, grandma passed away, and the next thing you know, I'm driving her PT Cruiser type stories on that one.
Yeah, this is a similar setup. I think nobody is setting out, and again, you just mentioned how the Aztec has become this kind of demonstration of your quirkiness now and underappreciatedness. Nobody's thinking that about a Buick Rendezvous. Nobody's obtaining one of these.
Well, thanks for the fill in, because the sound effect I was looking for is this. And that's because I have also chosen the Buick Rendezvous as the Lemons build, the car we want to actually see in a Lemons race. And why? Well, the 24 Hours of Lemons is about a lot of things, but one of them is completely underappreciated, terrible nameplates, poorly executed ideas, and nothing says that more than the Buick Rendezvous. There's so many theme possibilities. Like Eric said, you recreate the Paris thing. You could find the generic SUV in Grand Theft Auto that looks like this, because I'm sure there is one. And there you go. It just kind of does itself. You're likely to win a trophy. Just do it.
Just do it. All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode of Lemons Car Spotting. Tell us in the comments below how you would prepare a Buick Rendezvous for Lemons, and we will be back next week with a fresh batch of crap to talk about.
It is so bad in so many ways.
It's also peeing. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, it sure is. That had to be the last car that was parked there.